I'll figure it out.
It's all good. Okay, so we're recording now, so it's saved my computer. So hello everyone. Sorry for the delay. Just getting all set up here. We've got Christine and Moni and Henri. Looks like Jane's watching. So I have it for anyone who's not on Zoom. I have it on my phone over here. So if I'm looking this way, I'm keeping an eye on if there's any comments as we go, as Moni and Henri tell their story and stuff. So if you have any comments, just pop them in or whatever, and we'll feed through both. So to kind of introduce our guest speakers tonight, Moni, oh, Jane's, we've got one more. Just letting one more in.
Knock, knock.
Hey, Jane. So we've got Moni and Henri here. I have known them since I was 6. I used to swim with their daughter, Nicole, and they are my second parents, my chosen family. And yeah, they've been raising monarchs for a long time. So I don't want to talk too long. So we'll let you guys take it away. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been doing this and kind of the story behind why you decided to raise monarchs, and then we'll get into your whole process and stuff.
Okay. So thank you, Lauren, for inviting us here on Zoom. This is a wonderful opportunity to share and always be able to spread some knowledge about our threatened species, our beautiful monarchs. So we'll take you back a little bit to 2002. In July, Henri and I lost our precious and our only child, Nicole, in a terrible car accident. And since then, her very first birthday, my sister brought to the cemetery a tagged monarch in an envelope that they purchased at the conservatory, the Butterfly Conservatory here in Cambridge, and it had a tag on it because Nicole's birthday is September the 14th, a day after Nicole, Lauren's. And we let that go at the cemetery, and I was just moved for the fact that for us then it was almost like sending Nicole butterfly kisses, and then it was the whole learning curve around what really are monarchs about. And because they're threatened, we've come to know a lot more through meeting John Powers, that was introduced to us through Lauren, and just going to different nurseries that did this tagging and releasing of monarchs. So we started to do this, and we went to the conservatory, and the girl there said, you guys can do this, and I want to show you how. So come back when the conservatories close and I'm going to show you. And this is how you guys can do it too. So we went out to the back of the conservatory. We brought a butterfly net, and all they had back there were the goldenrod. And so monarchs love goldenrod because they're full of pollen. And during the migration period, which is the last week of August until, I mean, if we've had chrysalises open up in October, and we would tag them then. So anything the last week of August onward, you can tag them because those are our migrators. They go to Mexico. So we went out, she showed us exactly how to see an egg on a leaf. So we started looking on the back of milkweed leaves that were there as well. And there was monarchs feeding on the goldenrod. So we would catch them, and that's a skill and a half, but it's a lot of fun. And when we got them, we would just tag them, and then we would release them. But you write a tally sheet out, because on a tag there are 3 numbers and 3 letters, and they never ever repeat themselves. Cool. And so we fill out a tally sheet at the end of our process every fall, and we send that off
to the University of Kansas.
Yeah, and then all that data gets entered, and our monarchs fly to Mexico with hopes that they make it there. and then they hire Mexicans to go into the rainforest and purposely look for tagged monarchs. And at the time, John Power said they got $5 a monarch. I don't know, it could be more now. And then they would do a tally sheet and fill it out, and they'd send it in. And that's how we find out if our monarchs ever make it to Mexico. And
Well,
so,
the University of Kansas sent a whole team out there too,
yeah,
to get some of the data on the monarchs.
and
Oh,
so from then on, Nicole would be now 34 years old. Oh, I don't know how we live every day without her, but Lauren has filled a big void for us in that purpose. And we've watched Lauren grow and celebrate many things with Lauren. And we've often let a monarch go on Lauren's birthday along with Nicole. So we've been letting monarchs go now, well, for 34 years. That's a long, no, 22 years.
22 years.
22
okay,
years.
so you started like right away.
Right
Yep.
away.
Oh,
Her
Right
okay.
away.
very first birthday without us. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I was thinking it was a little bit after, but that's incredible.
No, it was her very first birthday. She would have turned 13 on her first birthday, like 2 weeks, 6 weeks after, 3 weeks after we lost her was her 13th birthday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yours. Yeah, and we've been doing it ever since, and it's nothing brings us more joy and purpose now because they are threatened. So that is our story of why we do what we do, but there's more exciting news too, and we can help you learn how to do that at home. And you can tell them about just the different
But just
things.
before we go in there, in 2010,
Yeah.
we received a letter from a lady in Ohio that had purchased a monarch butterfly that we picked up the egg in our backyard, raised a caterpillar, tagged it, released it from our backyard in Cambridge, and then made it all the way to Mexico.
Oh,
She
my
bought
And she bought, because the University of Kansas, after they're done with the monarchs, they will give them to the farmers, and Mexican can make jewelry or any kind of souvenir out of anything. So this lady bought it, and the monarch wing was in there, and then she could see the tag, and she contacted the University of Kansas, and they were able to pinpoint where that monarch came from.
that's
Right.
amazing.
It was a male, and the number was 760 JP.
John Powers.
It had John Powers, and on top of that, John Powers was a Christian, so he had on there, "Through God, anything is possible," on
his
that tag,
which is very small.
which is
They
not
are
very.
tiny because you got to put them on the wings.
Yes, they got to go in a certain part of the wing and show them how small that tag is.
I don't know if you see, these are the
That's
tags. I
teeny
don't know.
tiny.
Whoops, sorry.
Just let it rest here. Yeah. Can you see them? They're like a paper punch, a little bit bigger than a paper punch,
Yeah.
but they can never repeat themselves. So these are why we weren't able to use this year. So we throw them away because you can't use them again. They get marked. They're sent to us from the university, and they are numbered and lettered differently every year.
Oh, so you can only use them for that year.
For that year.
Yeah.
Okay.
The numbers always stays the same, but the letters in the front change every year.
Mhm.
And this is one of our tally sheets that we fill in, and it has on it that there's the number, the month that you released them, if he was wild or reared, and where we released him from, and if he was male or female. So, and then we send that to university. And on the back, they show you, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little picture of where we put the tag on the monarch.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
If you look at the one without the tag, it looks like a little mitten there, and then that's where we put the tag on it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so, and it's always on their wings when they're closed. So you can't touch the wings inside because that's where the scales are. So when you go to approach a monarch, or Henry catches one in the net, and you go in with your hand, they will close their wings, and you'll just grab it, you'll take it, and then you'll look for this sort of mitt, you know, with the thumb and then your
Yeah.
finger, and then you'll stick it like right here, and you'll put it on there on the outside of the wings, and then you let them go.
Cool.
And the neat thing is right on the top part there, if you see the monarch that's on the top, it's got two little black dots on it. That's a male. The female does not have the black dots. That's
a
how you can
female.
tell the difference between
Yeah.
the two of them.
Only when their wings are open will you see those two
Yeah.
black dots.
Yeah, because those are glands, right?
Or the
they're their
glands of the male. Yeah. And that's the female. And that's how simple it is to find out if it's a male or female. Now, somebody asked a good question, is if we know whether it's a male or female when they are in a chrysalis form. And
you can, but you have to have a very, very good magnifying glass, because it ain't easy. I just got a black and white piece of paper here, but I was on the internet this year. No, I don't know if you can see, but over here, the male will have 3 dots and then one single line coming down on the top of the chrysalis where it attaches. And then the female, which is, they just show it, it will have 3 dots, but 2 lines on the top of the chrysalis.
Okay.
But you have to have a very good magnifying glass to see it, because that black line is very, very faint.
Okay.
But you can see the dots pretty good, but it's the lines that. Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
So Henry, it's Christine. There's no difference with the caterpillars. There's no way as a caterpillar to tell at that point if it's a male or a female.
No. I haven't found any information on that, but it would be a good question to ask the university if they would. They know if we can tell if they're a male, because you look at the caterpillars and they all look identical. Like they have the same amount of legs, same amount of little antennas on them.
Yeah, that's a good question. You're probably, I don't know.
Because, well, this when was that written? And they're always looking, because I was listening to this gentleman, and it was really interesting, the things that he was saying. Even when they feed, they will feed and then they will go rest, and then they'll take off the next day. They won't fly that same day. They will rest and then fly the next day. And they can travel anywhere between 50 to 100 kilometers a day.
That's wild. And I read that they can fly up to 10,000 feet in the air.
Well, they do, because what they do is they use the air currents, the wind currents to navigate.
Yeah.
And the solar system. Yeah, they're really remarkable, these insects, for sure. And what I wanted to say was, what was I going to say now? They only feed on milkweed when they are caterpillars. You can't feed them anything else. Nothing else will do. Now, there's different kinds of milkweed out there, and they will eat whatever milkweed we find them on, because we do have tropical milkweed out there. We have common milkweed out there. We have a couple other ones that we got this year too. And whatever we find them on, that's the milkweed that we will feed them. We won't interfere with the other milkweed leaves. We just give them what we found them on. And when they grow, they'll grow as big as your pinky finger. And then they will automatically just climb up to the tallest part of their living environment. So imagine if you have them in your little plastic box that you bought at the dollar store, and they'll just go up to the lid, and then they do like this really tight, strong weaving. And when you look at it, it looks white. It looks like a cobweb almost that they're doing. And then they will go into a J form, and that's like their little butts will hang from that white cotton part that they just wove, and they will hang, and they actually look like the letter J. And when they're hanging in that letter J for about 2 days, that is when they're going to break out of that caterpillar skin. And when it happened, it is the most remarkable event because they wiggle and they squirm. It's almost like they're sort of giving birth out of their skin, and it will split from the bottom where they're hanging, like imagine their head,
Yeah.
and then it'll split there, and then they just wiggle and wiggle, and they move the caterpillar skin all the way up to that little spot where they just wove, and then they twist and turn, and they until that falls, and that's their skin, and it'll fall down to the bottom of their cage that they're in, and then they turn into this. They're already turning into the green, and it looks like all the green milkweed that they've been eating, like the leaf. That's what it looks like. It's green, 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 and then they wiggle and they squirm until it looks like a solid, beautiful jewel, a jade jewel, and then these gold dots appear. So Henry's got a good illustration of it here. You just have to hold it back like that. Yeah.
Like you see the J form at the top,
Yeah.
and as it splits its skin and
Mhm.
ends up into the chrysalis.
Mhm.
Monica and I have video of the whole thing when it happens, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
And even
Christine
when
took a really cool one too this
Yeah,
year
and
of
then
it doing its shedding, and it's like, whoa, it looks like magic.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, and then it'll hang in there in the chrysalis for, well, the whole thing takes about a month. I always say about a month, like 27, 29 days. And when the same thing when they break out of the chrysalis to become a monarch, that's another beautiful event for it all to happen. It'll split out of that. And you can actually see the whole monarch folded up inside that chrysalis that they were hanging in for the last, 2 or 3 weeks. And all of a sudden it becomes black, but the blackness is the monarch butterfly. When you start to look at it, you can see the orange, you can see lines, and it's like, that's it, because when they come out of that chrysalis, it's clear.
Right.
Mhm.
So how long are they caterpillars?
They are caterpillars. Well, okay, so they're caterpillars. I'm going to say they're caterpillars for 2 weeks, like 14 days. And then they'll go into a chrysalis for another 10 days or so, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a 27, 29 day period.
Okay.
So it depends on when you find a caterpillar. Like if you're doing it right from the egg, we've watched a caterpillar come out. Like that's crazy too, because the egg is actually white. And if you look at the egg and there's a little black spot, it's ready to come out from a
Wow.
caterpillar. It's like a piece of thread.
That's wild.
So right from that, it could be 29 days, easy. But if you go out in the wild and you find a caterpillar, well, it's hard to guess. Like you think, okay, this is about a week old. This one's a big 2 weeks. And sometimes we find them as big as our finger. We think, oh, we don't even have to feed this guy very much at all. And the next thing you know, he's up in a J form the next day, and he's going to be a caterpillar in 2 weeks. So. But yeah, it's just, I always say a month. Give or take a few days, but it's such a cool thing. And the more awareness out there that you can just do this by, don't cut your milkweeds down, because they say they're invasive, but you know what? We've lost a whole crop of milkweed. They're not as invasive as much as you think. And when they're small little plants and you go, I don't want them there, start thinning them out. So we'll pick them out and we'll put them in other places in our garden, and just let them become a milkweed for the summer. And as soon as the leaves kind of wilt, you're going to know that plant's done. Just turn it over and always make sure there's no eggs on it. Often aphid eggs are confused to
With monarch.
monarch
Okay.
egg. But the only difference is when in a day or two, an aphid egg will turn yellow. It'll turn yellow, and you'll just say, yeah, that's not a milkweed, or that's not a monarch egg, because it's yellow, and then just throw it away.
And when you look at it on the leaf itself, The Monarch egg almost looks milky,
Okay.
and the aphid is a little bit more dry.
Okay.
But that just takes a skilled eye. I mean, even when I first start out in May or June looking, I'll think I got an egg and it's an aphid, and I just think, ah, and then you pick up on what you're looking for. But it's fun. It's just a fun process because you get to watch the whole thing, and then for it to evolve into this beautiful butterfly and let it go, it's so beautiful.
So from my understanding, the milkweed population is down though, right? And this is part of the reason why the monarchs aren't thriving anymore. So
Yes, because
it's important that we grow our own just to help
Yeah.
with the population. So what's your, like, where can people get seeds, and like what kind of are they better and more shady? Like where do you plant them?
milkweed will
When?
go almost anywhere. But what you can do is go around where you
Right
see
now.
any milkweed. Like right now, the milkweeds are all potting, and you just
Oh,
grab the pod, put them in a paper bag first, because then the seed will
Holy.
fall off the little fluff that they fly around on.
You know those
And it-
wishes that we
yeah,
plant?
yeah.
And this is all monarch. This is all milkweed seeds.
From our friend that
Wow.
planted them. That's a common milkweed. So what I'll do, because I have so much common milkweed here, Henry and I, we have enough. I can drive along the side of a road or by a pond area and just let them go. Just let them all go and hope that they'll seed and grow there. But yeah, so they can, our milkweed is in the shade and it's in the sun.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got them in both spots.
We found them
So
in,
it's
we found them in
resilient.
both spots. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And when you do it in the spring, you don't plant it into the earth. You'll sprinkle it on top of the earth. And then I always say, grab a handful of soil and just sprinkle that on top. So a little bit of soil falls on the seed, but it's not like a tulip bulb or something. You don't dig a hole and put them in there. You just sprinkle them on top of the soil and
You do
water
that in the
them.
spring?
Yeah, in the spring. Yep, we started in the spring. So our spring is probably I would say beginning in May for sure, whether it's beginning or the end, May.
Or even now, you can go out now and sprinkle some, and then over winter, it'll like when the spring comes along, they'll come out.
Okay,
If
so
they-
you can
because
overwinter them now for anyone who wants to collect some and put them in.
Yeah, because you just take those, even if you don't want to dry them out, just take the pods, open them up, and just scatter the seeds on the ground and just leave them.
and see what happens. And won't hurt anything because there's tons of busted open milkweed now everywhere. It's everywhere.
I know.
You drive along the road, you'll see them. They're just busting open.
I just cut mine today, and I just spread the pods all over the garden just to leave them there.
Yeah.
And
And you can always buy small plants at the nurseries, which we did because we bought different kinds of milkweed this year. So we just bought them they're like an inch or, 3 inches high, 4 inches high, and we planted them just because there's different colors, there's different types. It's just, we wanted to try different things. And butterfly bushes. We got 7 or 8 butterfly bushes, all different colors. And we love the colors, we love the bushes, and they love the nectar on a butterfly bush. So we have those growing in our backyard too, and they're very, very pretty.
And if you go on the Monarch Watch website, you can get a certificate, which is called a waste station. And what you need is 10 nectar plants and some milkweed. And then they will send you a certificate, naming your own waste station. And on their map that they have there, your waste station will be marked. So they know that you have we have a waste station here at 145 Beechwood Road in Cambridge.
Cool.
And it comes with its own number.
Okay, cool.
And you can name it. So this one is Nicole's waste station.
Yeah. So we did that too. Yeah, that was fun to do that.
Henry and Moni.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that we're also supposed to be, if we raise more than one butterfly, that we're supposed to be registered with the government.
No. No.
I've been doing.
We've been doing it for 22 years. There's people in Pelee Island that have been raising them, and John Power, rest his soul, he raised them for years and never did he register. And even the nurseries that released the monarch butterflies.
Well, we are kind of registering them with our tally sheets, and we do send that information to the university. So it is, in a sense, being recorded.
Well, and
Yeah.
I belong to a few Facebook groups, and they talk about how in Ontario that we're supposed to be registered with the provincial government Ministry of Environment, one of those ministries, if we raise more than one butterfly.
And
Technically-
what is the purpose of it? Like our house should be registered, or address? or-
I'm not sure our person, or whether it's our location. I'm not sure. I've never really looked into it. Just a few people talk about it occasionally.
Well, that would
And-
be interesting.
I've never,
I don't know.
but I've never heard it.
I know,
Just
yeah.
that-
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it doesn't.
no, it doesn't exist, but
I'd like to know
I
that.
would, yeah, I would, because like what we're doing right now, raising these monarchs, I'll just give you an example. A female monarch in her lifetime can lay about 1,000 eggs.
Wow.
In her lifetime.
In her
which is
lifetime.
3 weeks.
Then on average, only 400 to 600 of those eggs will make it to a butterfly.
Wow.
But when we help them out, we increase that percentage to about 85 to 90% of survival rate, because
Wow.
we take all the elements out of their way. They don't have very many predators, but
Not
as
that
the small little caterpillars and the eggs, like the what do you call those things? Earwigs will
Mhm.
destroy the small
Oh,
caterpillars and
okay.
the eggs. So by raising them, we are helping them.
Mhm.
We are
Right.
increasing their survival rate.
But that doesn't mean that that's not true. And if it is, we would not have any problem doing that. I mean, if that means registering our home address to say, yeah, we do this every year.
Yeah.
Or do they have to know that we're doing it every year? I would say, we've done it this year. What do we do?
Right.
Yeah.
Or is it just a money grab for the government? I know quite a few backyard people, people that raise monarchs, swallowtails and such, and none of us are registered.
And we're not
Right.
registered either.
Yeah.
And you know what? If they send us a letter saying, hey, we heard that you're doing this, and did you know you have to be registered? I'll say, well, what's the reason behind it?
Yeah.
So you guys can grab money off of me? That's the only reason the government would stick their nose into
So
it.
I guess you have to pay to get registered. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
I think I read that, yes, once before, but I can't really find anyone that can say where and who and what.
Okay.
I read at one point that there was a naturalist group, maybe in the Toronto area, that allows citizens to register with them
Huh.
as a group and
Oh.
pay them a fee to do the registration as part of their official government permit. So I'm not sure whether I'm not going to do
Yeah,
that myself either. I'm not in
no.
Toronto, so
Yeah, and
But-
we're not either, but you know what, there's right to groups that you'll find them probably
But
everywhere, right?
I would say about 6, maybe 7 years ago, I remember John Power and I having this discussion, because there was posting coming up on Facebook that these groups were saying that we were causing more damage to the butterfly by raising them in the house than not letting them do in the wild. And then they had no nothing to back them up of what they were talking about. Meanwhile, we had information from the University of Canada saying that we are increasing their rate of survival by doing what we do. So you'll always have that battle between the nay and the yay.
That's very true. Yeah.
Right, I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And you
to-
could be right, but I don't think I'm gonna worry too much about it.
I wouldn't
And
worry
you
too
know,
much about it.
when we do this, there are times like this year, what did we do in total? 9?
Oh, no, we did more than that. We
No, tagged.
tagged, we did about, well, I'll tell you
Do you
right
have our
now.
sheet?
Yeah,
Like some years, like remember when Canada turned 150? My goal that year, I wanted to tag and release 150 monarchs when they were migrating. And we did it.
you guys
We
ran out of
actually
tags that
did
year,
Did
didn't
it,
you?
150 monarchs, huh?
You
Pardon?
did you guys there was that the year you ran out of tags?
Oh,
Oh, there
yeah,
was
we
a-
did.
there
We
was a
got
year-
some from Annette,
yeah.
our friend Annette. Yeah, she had to mail us some.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this year though, this was a really
20.
slow year.
they were-
We tagged and released 20
20,
monarchs.
well, tagged and released, but
Yeah.
we've raised about 40 this year, and that's very low for us.
Mhm. Yeah, especially for tagging, because we always buy 100 tags from the Kansas, from the university. And sometimes, I mean, I'd be happy if I did 50 every year, but they just were not here in the numbers this year. And yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad.
And
But-
people have got to start realizing that, you know,
Our
We-
weather changes.
this is the only butterfly that migrates.
Yeah.
And like, it's not endangered now, but it's threatened. So we got to wake up and say, listen, people, we got to get together. We got to do something to bring this population up. We got to help these little, because down the road, maybe not our grandkids, but their grandkids might not even know what a monarch butterfly looks like because they'll be extinct.
Yeah, and they're just so beautiful and they're amazing. So how many generations going to Mexico and coming back? Explain that one.
Here we have about the first
Generation coming back from Mexico.
the first 3 generation or 4 generation only lives about 2 to 6 weeks, and all they do is they breathe and they lay eggs, and that's it, and then they die. And the male will not start breeding until he's about 6 days old,
Okay.
and the female will, like I said, can lay up to 1,000 eggs.
Right, but now, like next spring, they're coming back from Mexico.
And then they fly to Mexico. They stay there for about, I think it was 6 weeks, and then they start their migration back.
So the same generation that flew down
it-
comes back?
Yes, because what happens is the first 4 generation here have, this is something I just read this year. I didn't know this, and this guy that I was listening to blew my mind, because the first 4 generations that are here, there's some chemical in their bodies that make them mate and then lay eggs. But the migrating monarch does not have that chemical, flies to Mexico. While they're there, when they're ready to come back, their body change, and then they can start mating and reproducing eggs, and then the cycle starts again.
And then they
coming back.
die. So the ones that go to Mexico are not the ones
That make it here.
that make it back here. It takes
Oh.
3 to come back. Right? So from Mexico, they'll fly
They'll,
maybe to, I
I
don't
don't know,
know,
the state somewhere, and then
yeah,
they'll start
Texas,
mating.
Hawaii. Like, I mean, we see monarchs in Hawaii. Like, I don't know their travels coming back, but imagine leaving Mexico, mate in, I don't know, Texas, say, and then die. And then this generation grows and becomes a monarch, and then it flies so many, miles, and then it mates and dies. And then that generation is our 3rd generation, and it's coming to Cambridge now. And that generation comes, mates, dies, and then we see them flying around May, June, July, August, and you're like, okay, wow, we got lots of monarchs flying around. And now we're going to start looking for eggs, and then Henry and I are starting our process all summer long. And come September, right after Nicole's birthday, September the 14th, we don't tag anymore. Like our purpose then is done. We'll do it, you know, from August until September 14th, and then we're not looking for any more monarchs and tagging them. And well, now they're gone. It's so cold at night now here. Like I don't want to see any more monarchs now. My heart hurts when I see them. You're thinking, how do you make it through the night? You know, because it's getting cold now.
Well,
So
they leave, they go down, like they cross Lake Erie. So Point Peely's a big
right.
spot for them, but
Yeah.
really they'll leave anywhere along that southern shoreline. It's
Yeah.
just
They
Peely's
will.
the most southern point. So talk a little bit
Yes.
about roosting and yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, the roosting period is apparently something to see. This is one of the only things that we haven't experienced yet, is the roosting.
Well, we went to Peely Island just
Yeah,
for that.
For that, and we seen maybe a roost of what? There was
A branch.
about 20, 30.
A branch.
But apparently, some people have taken pictures of trees, branch breaking off trees, because there's so many monarchs on them.
My mom used to see that as a kid because she lived right on
Yeah.
the seashore of Lake Erie, right? And she said the tree would be full of them at dusk. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like,
And the minute the sun hits them in the morning, boom, they're gone.
because they need specific conditions in order
Yeah.
to start their trek across the lake.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. If it's really, really windy, they'll probably hang around Point Peely or the southern shore longer. And there are scouts that are walking around Point Peely at this time of year too, and they're doing recordings for the Monarch Watch way stations, because it's important to know. She'll say how many that she spotted, and then it's amazing that like there's a mathematical formula that she has to figure things out. When she sees a cluster of them, she'll randomly like just count them, and then she'll multiply them, and then she'll, you know, and then you get on their website and she'll say, oh, we had like 500 monarchs, you know, roosting at Point Peely this evening.
In the west, whatever.
On the west side or the east side, or the winds were really strong today. So it was hard to see any monarchs really. I only seen like, you know, half a dozen flying around, but it's interesting. Yeah, but Point Peely was a fun time, and I'd love to go back there again, and I know I will one day. But yeah, we didn't see any major roosting there except for a little branch full. But
And that Facebook group's called Peely Paradise Monarch. So I'll post a link, but they do, yeah, she does. I met her a couple years ago. I went down around my birthday.
Right.
And it was like there was a bad storm, but yeah, she goes to the tip every evening.
Yeah.
And I saw a couple, but it was really bad like terrible weather. And when they are roosting and the weather's bad and they have their wings closed, they look like dead leaves. So you have to look really, really carefully in the trees. Otherwise they're hard to spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless the whole tree's covered and you see, you go, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
But another interesting thing about the monarchs is they'll fly to the, I don't even know if I can pronounce this, the Mexican forest.
Yeah.
And they arrive in Mexico, in that area of Mexico, when the Mexican are celebrating the Day of the Dead. And in their ancient, like their beliefs is these are ancient spirits coming back for a visit to Earth as the monarchs migrate into Mexico. So there's a big celebration in Mexico because of the monarch.
Wow, I didn't realize Day of the Dead was around the monarch migration.
Yeah, officially, like it's around November 2nd, and sometimes they start arriving as early as October 31st. Okay. So I think it's a week celebration.
It is, yeah.
But it is big. It is really big.
And you know, we've released some monarchs in the past where like different things happen. They're not always perfect. And I can remember one year, one of our monarchs, the chrysalis didn't close 100%. And I thought for sure it was going to die, but it didn't. It ended up evolving into a monarch, but the tip of its wing was bent. And we knew that it wouldn't be a migrating one is never going to make it because that wing was bent. And so we let it go in our backyard on our butterfly bushes. And when Henry and I would go back there, that butterfly would fly around us, like literally, like right in front of us and around us, and just really, really close. And I go, oh my goodness, like, I can't believe that monarch is just around us so close. I wonder if it's one that we let go. And sure enough, it landed on the butterfly bush, and we could see that wing was bent over, and it was almost like it knew who we were by our voices, because they're here in the house. It's like being in our bellies, with these babies, and they hear our voice and they know us. And then, well, that's my mom and dad. Honestly, it was a cool thing. It was there for days. I want to say a week. It would do that when we go in the backyard to our pool or in the garden. There's this one monarch just flying around us and just thanking us for his life, and it was just really cool. I'll never forget that. It was a really neat experience. And we often say that, eh?
And when
Yeah,
you're,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and when you're raising them, like I remember when you came to our house, like to my house for the first time, it was like you're just like, you got to bring all the kids. But you had them in you had them in different containers based on their size. Like you didn't keep the teeny tiny caterpillars with the bigger ones, right? Like, so talk a little bit about that and how you kind of organize them because they're coming out at different times.
Well, yeah, like what I do every day is I give them fresh milkweed. So I will take the little tiny ones with a little toothpick, and I will scrape them off the old leaf, put them on a new leaf. And I will do that with all the caterpillars, clean their cages and put them in there. And I will separate them, like you said, like different sizes, because like I don't want to be touching it all the time and moving it while they're in a J form, because it disturbs them. So I kind of move the bigger ones when they're almost ready to go into and they eat a lot more too. Like the big ones will eat a big leaf like in no time.
The size of your hand.
Like,
and you can hear them.
Oh yeah, they're like little typewriters.
Crunching away. Yeah, it's really neat. But and you know what though, I haven't witnessed it, but my sister did this one a couple of times. But she said, I swear to goodness that the bigger ones eat the little ones, because she said all of a sudden, she said, we're missing like 3 of them, and the big ones are still in there. So
well, the little ones are so tiny they can get out of almost anything. So you got to be really sure that you got a good sealed container to put them in.
And you'll count them too.
Yeah, I count them.
We have a lot of them, and they're in one container, like say the eggs. We have a leaf the size of your hand, say, and every egg is on a milkweed leaf, and we turn it over on a fresh leaf.
Every day
it gets a fresh leaf. It has to. And we'll count them just to make sure, because when you cut a milkweed leaf, because we're not going to pull the whole leaf off when we just have this little tiny egg, because you want to leave as much leaf available for more monarchs to come and lay eggs. So we've learned just to take a scissor. We have like our own special scissor it's all gummed up and gooey. That's our milkweed leaf cutting egg. And so we do it about the size of a nickel, say. And then we'll take that and flip it over. But as it dries, they curl up. So then we have tweezers, and Henry will pick them up with the tweezer, the curled edge, and he'll look at the bottom of it and he'll say, oh yeah, there's the egg still, puts it on the fresh one. The other one, he'll look. And it's important we count them, because it's like you got to count all your babies and say, okay, where are they? And you turn the leaf over and you think, oh, where's the egg? Where's the egg? He must have came out. And then you start looking on the leaf, and then you see this little tiny hole and little, like really, really fine little poop. And you think, oh, it came out of the egg. So then okay, we're going to move this guy over now to this container, because these ones are all eggs. These guys are little baby eggs. And yeah, it's a process. It's fun. They're so cute when they're little. Everything's cute when they're babies.
Until they grow up and have attitudes.
But they do eat a lot. Yeah.
But
they eat a lot. Yeah, it's fun. I encourage everybody, if you've never done it, just do it one time.
But make sure you have the host plant.
Yeah, you
which
need
is
to have
the milkweed.
those, yeah.
And if you don't have it too close, well, what you can do is you can harvest milkweed leaves. And then like I always clean mine, then I'll wrap them up in paper towel,
Right.
and I'll wet the paper towel, put them inside a plastic bag, seal them, and put them in my crisper, and I can keep them up to a week.
Okay.
So when I travel with our babies, I always make sure I have my cooler, my ice pack with my leaves in it so that I can feed them every day.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I know,
Now,
it is fun.
did you see the other question? There was a question, I think it was from Jane, about the how on the one photo there was a leaf that had an egg on it and there was a hole on the leaf, and she was asking, are there
Mhm.
always holes on the leaf if there's an egg on there, or could that perhaps have been a leaf that somebody had cut the egg out and that's why there's a hole?
Most likely it's because the caterpillar came out of the egg.
Okay.
And every time there's the like, that's what I look for. Like when I have a bunch of eggs, I look for little holes on the leaf. Then I know, okay, I've got some little ones. So I got to be
Okay.
careful. So I check the leaves, and then I'll take the leaf itself and look. And what they'll do most of the time is they'll go underneath the leaf,
Oh, okay.
and they'll eat them underneath the leaf, so you can see the little holes. So if you flip the leaves around, then you'll see all the little caterpillars on it.
And will the monarch, if will one monarch lay multiple eggs on the same leaf?
Yes, they can. We
Okay.
found about 3 eggs on one leaf.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm,
So it
mhm.
could have been the same caterpillar, or so it could have been the same monarch or multiple monarchs.
Yeah,
I've seen
For
a
sure.
monarch lay an egg. It was really cool because it just like kind of like
Ben's
put its butt underneath and then just did a
Yeah.
little thing. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it just laid an egg. It was really
Yeah.
cool.
That's a fresh egg. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the best kind. I love that too. We've seen that happen too, because that's right from the very beginning, right until it hatches. And so you'll start to see that little black, like a little black head there. And it's like the baby caterpillar is going to poke through that egg soon. And then they often eat that. That's their first source of food is their egg
The
that they
egg,
came
yeah.
out of.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you
Okay.
can't see the egg and it's like, oh my gosh, where's the egg? Well, they eat that sometimes. Yeah.
Huh.
And then they'll start eating the
the leaf.
milkweed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. And then those holes get bigger, but it would not be somebody cutting a hole on the, I mean,
Okay. So they've probably
No,
just
it would
they've
be-
hatched and they've
Yeah,
started
they've
to eat the-
hatched and they've eaten, and then they might eat you'll see a little hole, then you look at the leaf and they're not there. They'll just wander somewhere else. Because
Okay.
they don't stay on the same leaf very long. They keep wandering and
Okay.
eating.
Hopefully that answers the question. And I did want to circle back a little bit because you've been mentioning John Powers off and on.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the
Mhm.
others don't know who he was. John
Right.
Powers owned and was one of the co-founders of Wings of Paradise in Cambridge. It's now called Cambridge Butterfly Conservatory. There was a lawsuit and stuff, and they were forced to change the name, but John Powers named it Wings of Paradise. And
Mhm.
You had
he
the
was
trademark.
he was like the bug man. And to
Yeah.
give you the background story, I met John Powers at the Cambridge Center Mall when I was on assignment for the newspaper when I was doing journalism on weekends. And he had this big exhibit of a bunch of bugs and stuff. So I was asked to go and cover that as one of my assignments. And I got chit-chatting with him, and anyone who knows or knew him, he was a very eccentric but very interesting man. And I probably talked to him for like a half hour, maybe an hour. I was just picking his brain, and just he was so fascinating. And he was talking
Yeah.
about monarchs and stuff. And this was earlier on in your journey raising monarchs. And so I
Yeah.
messaged Moni or I don't know if we were even texting back
So
then, but
excited.
I think I called you that night and I said, oh my
you
gosh,
did.
I just met the most interesting man. He has a display at the Cambridge Center. He's gonna, this was on a Saturday. So I was like, he's gonna be there one more day. And he had this big van, and it was somebody, was it
Orkin?
Orville? He was
Orkin.
sponsored. Orkin.
Orkin.
He was
Orkin.
sponsored, and he used to go and do exhibits. I think he went to schools and educated children.
Yeah.
And yeah, I never went into his house, but from my understanding, he had a lot of bugs and stuff. But so anyway,
Oh,
Moni,
yeah.
Moni,
I've been there.
yeah, like I don't know if it was just Moni or both of you went the next day, because I was like,
You did.
go meet this man. He's incredible. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to monarchs. And then you guys became friends, and he got you into the tagging and stuff, right? And then just like he helped you learn more about the whole,
knowledge. Oh yeah,
and
was.
he had lots of connections for the roosting that happens in the fall when they go into the trees
Yeah.
and stuff. So I remember you telling me that he told you, you know, if you're up for it, but you might get a
Yeah.
call at 3 a.m. of like so and
Yeah.
so sees them in this area and you gotta
We're
like get up
going.
and go. And he's like, I'll go, but like it could be 3 a.m.
Yeah, and I said, we're on it. Give us a call, but that it
He,
never
he
happened.
was also a collector.
Yes.
Anything that had the word butterfly in it, he would collect.
Wow.
He wrote to some of the artists that wrote song like the Muhammad Ali, stings like a bee, flies like a butterfly, or something like that. He got the lyrics of that song from one of the writers. He contacted him,
Wow.
and
Yeah, it's cool. And they would sign it and or send a letter back, send a signed picture back, send. There's a lot. What Elton John, did he do something with the
I
butterfly?
can't remember, but he was
went-
showing.
Like he can remember things. It was like a knowledge, this filing cabinet. He would just open his brain and just pull out stuff, and it was just he was overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
Like I
he was
could only
incredible.
absorb so much, but he just
Yeah.
would go on and on and on, and I'd want to take it all in, but I just couldn't.
He
He
was
was
so
just so
passionate.
fascinating.
He was
And in
so much.
1976, National Geographic came out with one of their, their little yellow books that they used to put stuff in on the Monarch. And John Power got a couple of those copies. And this is one of them. He gave it to me.
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
He
That's
says, I want you to have one copy. And he
Yeah.
gave me a copy. And also this book here by, Phil Chapman. He says, this guy is amazing. And it's all about the Monarchs too. He wanted me to have this book too.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Yeah, he was a pretty cool man. We were meant to meet Mr. Powers. And then, I mean, Warren, you bought me a necklace with a monarch, a real monarch wing in it. I'm gonna go get it. I gotta go get it.
Yeah, I found it in, I believe it was, where were we? Paris, maybe? No, was it?
and John Powers too was he was a very smart man too, because we had monarchs that had died and we found them in the backyard, and one tiny one particularly, and he says, give it to me and I'll do something for you. And this is what he did for us.
Oh, wow.
This was one of our little monarchs that we raised, but he was too small, he never made it. But
Okay.
John put the wings in these little things for us.
Because you can
Wow.
how small they're gonna be. See, this is the necklace that Lauren gave me.
Yeah, it's a real wing. They've like
It's a real wing.
resined it or something. I found it at
Yeah.
a market and I was like,
It's
oh, Moni has some
so
of this.
beautiful.
I
Yeah,
gave
I love it.
you got it on Nicole's birthday when we turned 30 on the boat.
On the boat.
Yeah.
That's right. That's when you
And
gave
this
it to
and
me.
this is something that probably that lady from Ohio bought, but it
Yeah.
had a tag on it, and she was curious and sent the letter.
Yeah, so she traced it back. That's very
Yeah.
cool.
Well, yeah, and because it had John Powers' tag on it, she wrote to John. And
Yeah.
John phoned us and he says, you know what? He goes, are you guys sitting down? I got something really exciting to tell you. And so we go, yeah, we were out having a burger or something. And he said, you're not going to believe it, but one of your monarchs made it to Mexico. And the lady wrote me, and I told her that you raised it in the backyard, you reared it, and raised it, you tagged it, and you let it go. And so he wrote her back and told her that. And I said to John, that was our story to tell her, because there's more to it because of Nicole.
Yeah.
And then he did give us her address, and I never did write her, but I should have. But I don't know. I just never got around to writing her to tell her our story. But I forgot to tell you though too, when Nicole was 10, she wanted her room done. And so we asked her what she wanted, and she said, I want to have my room all in butterfly. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she goes, I just want butterflies all over my room, Mommy. And so Henry and I said, okay. So we went out, we bought some wallpaper that was like sky and clouds only. And so half of her wall was like the clouds in the sky. And the bottom part of her wall was this really cool textured green that the owners did, and I loved it. And I said, you're not going to get the whole room done like that, so the bottom part could be like the meadow, and then
Yeah.
we'll have the sky. And then she found this big wide border, and it was all butterflies, so we put that in the middle of the two. And then the leftover border, we cut all these butterflies out, and we just pasted them all over her wall. And then I found butterfly poles for her ceiling fan.
They're
And then
still there.
yeah. And then there was a butterfly chain curtain that I put by her door that she would have to walk through. And then I made curtains that I found. It was actually shower curtains, and it was really cool. It was material with butterflies. So I did that for her window. And then, you know, butterfly pillows. And so everything was butterflies, which was 10.
That's awesome.
And then here we are, you know, 2.5 years later, we lose her. So butterflies they just spoke volumes to us, right? And then her first birthday was the Monarch. And then going forward from that, it's just what we did. And this is what Nicole she's given us this passion to do this. And not only do we get to do it on her birthday, they're migrating in September, but also on her anniversary in July, on July 28th. When the accident was, we bring a Monarch to the cemetery then too. It's just not tagged,
Right.
but we can always release these monarchs in her memory, and it's just given us a great, beautiful purpose.
And
another, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to just point another thing that is really interesting about the Monarch is the Monarch has little hair on their legs and their feet, and that's how they taste.
Oh.
So they taste the nectar with their feet first, and then they will eat.
The probus will come out and get the nectar.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was going to ask you, because I know for the first few years you liked, if possible, to release the number of, like, say it was Nicole's birthday, you wanted to release the number of monarchs that she would have been, like her age. Now, sometimes you had to get a little bit creative, right? Because you had to, so tell us a little bit about that process, in case you caught them early and we were within a week or two of her birthday, you guys could reserve them, right?
Yeah, because when you raise them and they are fresh monarchs that you raise, you have to release them because they have to eat. But if you catch them in the wild, you can put them in a paper envelope or an onion skin envelope and fold their wings and put them into your crisper, and you can keep them up for a week. And then you take them out, put them on the ground, and they will come back.
They'll come alive again. It's sort of like they kind of go into like this
Hibernation.
They're like dormant. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can't do the fresh ones because they have to eat it right
No,
away.
they
But
have
if
to eat
they've
right
been
away.
out feeding, you can catch them and then buy
Yeah,
some.
and keep them up for about a week, because that one year, was it on 25th birthday? We tagged 25 because we had to be creative. Like you said, we caught some, we put them in the crisper when they were tagged, and then we put them in this long net that we had, we released them all at the same time. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, by the time we got to the cemetery,
they were all awake
and flying around,
Just freaking out.
Yeah, and then you open it up, and then off they went. It was so beautiful. They were all tagged, 25 of them. I don't know if we'll ever do that again. I mean, would have been great. But I mean, we tagged 150 for Canada's 150th, but we didn't let them all go at once. But often in fall weddings, you'll see at weddings that, you know, married couples will let monarchs go, a box of them, you know, that's how they do it.
Okay.
That's exactly how they'll do it. It's a week before. You can catch them, tag them, put them in a box, or not tag them and just put them in a crisper in your fridge. And a week later you can release them.
Cool. Awesome. I don't know if there's any questions. I think we'll kind of wrap up, but I'll give a moment for any questions or comments. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to add. I think we kind of covered the bases.
Yeah. No.
So go out there, find some milkweed, and help the monarch
Yes,
Yeah,
do
and
that.
plant some milkweed if you don't want to raise
Yeah.
them. 'Cause it's a commitment for sure.
Yeah.
But
Or-
at minimum we can plant milkweed and help their population because that's all they eat. They don't eat anything else.
Or even,
yeah,
you know,
the caterpillars.
nectaring flowers.
And
Yeah.
nectaring flowers.
Yeah,
to
for the butterflies, but yeah, the
Yeah.
caterpillars need milkweed.
Right, the
Yeah.
caterpillars need milkweed, the butterflies need the nectar. So if you don't want to do the milkweed, then plant more nectaring flowers so they have some feeding places to
Yeah.
go to. It's one or the other, you know, it'll be fun. And if
You
you
could
have
have a
any
way station.
questions, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, get 10 of them going and go name it and get a certificate. Make it fun, especially if you have kids or if you're a teacher or, you know,
Oh.
it's fun.
But one thing I will need to mention,
yeah.
because out of experience,
Mhm.
the milk of the milkweed is very, very toxic.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because I almost lost my right eye in 1 year.
Oh dear.
Yeah, because what happened was I was in a hurry. I was going to play hockey and I was cleaning some leaves. I washed my hands, but I washed them quick. And I must have had milkweed left on my eye when I put my contacts in to go play hockey. So the next day I was at work and I swear to God, somebody had a fire dagger in the middle of my eye. And I came home, I called Monica. Monica called her optometrist. He told me to come in because he was closing. He says, come and see me right away. He looked at me not even 2 minutes. He says, you have to see an eye specialist now. So he sent me to Dr. Anderson, and there was a film that was growing over my eye. If I would have waited till the next day, I would have lost my right eye because of
my
that milkweed. So if
God.
I always say when I'm doing some teaching and if there's kids around, I'll say to the parents, please you handle the milkweed and make sure you wash your hands after you
really
handle the milkweed.
thoroughly.
Yes.
Nail brush. Get under your
Yeah.
nails.
Get
Oh,
under your nails with
wow.
the
Get under
milkweed.
your nails.
Or
Yeah.
wear gloves.
Or
That's
wear
the
gloves.
safest
Yeah.
thing to
We
do.
wear gloves. I wear gloves now when I go out looking for eggs and
Okay.
cutting
So
things.
it's like handling hot peppers and stuff. You just don't
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
just be
right.
very careful handling.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. I knew they
Very,
were
very-
toxic, but I didn't know they were toxic to us.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
that was crazy.
That was a
yeah.
scare.
Mhm.
Yeah,
but-
no kidding.
But even John Powers, that's why I kind of had an idea what was going on, because John Power had told me a story that had happened to him. So I had that in the back of my mind. So then when I went to see the doctor, I went, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
the same thing happened to me.
But it wasn't
Yeah.
until you asked the questions of
Yeah.
what were you doing and okay, you need to get to the specialist like right now, and you phone Dr. Anderson. I have to send a patient like right now. You have to look at this guy's eye. Yeah, it was
And how did they
intense.
treat it?
With some steroids,
Okay.
Mhm.
some steroid creams and stuff that I had to put in my eye.
But the pain.
Oh, the pain was unbelievable. It was like
Yeah.
having a hot needle right in the middle of my eye.
So very, very, very important to remember that. Yeah.
I had to wash your hands very thoroughly.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good to know. Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
it was. And we had a great time.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you did this. And it's
And I
great.
hope we've encouraged a few people
Yeah.
to do it.
Any questions? Let Lauren know and
Yeah,
we'll be
if
happy to
you're
answer
catching
them and
Yeah, if you're catching the replay, #replay, and if it just follow along as if you're watching live, ask questions, put comments down. We'll see it in the aftermath. We'll get notifications, and if we have enough, if we need like a follow-up, we're happy to pop on live and answer some questions, or we can do it in the comments. So thank you.
yeah, and if you guys do decide to do this, you guys should take pictures along your way and let Lauren post them to Lauren, and then we can follow you that way too. And if you
Yeah,
have
or just
questions-
post them in the group. Christine and
Yeah.
I had one, like, I don't know how it got on my toe. I was walking through some grass and all of a sudden I felt something between my toes, and then it like launched off my foot and I was like, what was that? And I looked on the cement and it was a monarch caterpillar, and I was like, oh no. So
Oh wow.
I put it on a leaf and And then I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And then Christine said, well,
Right?
bring it back to the office or put it, kind of at the base of like a shrub or something. And this little, it ended up being a girl, but this little gal, she was on the move. And I was like, oh no, I can't make it back to the office. So I put it down. But then when I got back, I told Christine about it and she said, well, I'll go get it. And she brought it back to the office and it was like, it was ready to didn't it J form that night? Like, yeah. So she's like, I gotta get it home and put it in a proper container. And
Yeah,
she just
yeah.
hatched a couple days ago, right?
Oh,
Yesterday. So Christine released
that
our
is
little
so
buddy.
cool.
Yeah, we called her little Max because we didn't know if it was a Max or a Maxine, but it was a Maxine.
I love it. I bring him to work.
Sorry. Another thing I want to mention is
That's excellent that you did it. So you just let her go yesterday?
Yep, yesterday. She was a little smaller, but she was motivated, man. And as soon as Lauren texted me at work when she was on a break, I said, oh, this caterpillar needs to come home with me. So
yeah, and she was far
Wow.
from the milkweed. Like there was none around. I was looking around like, where did she come
you're
from?
just looking for a high place to go into a chrysalis.
Wow,
she
that's
was looking. She was looking to get into Lauren's path so that we could safely make sure she became a butterfly.
Yeah.
That's it. I wish I could get you a tag.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's okay.
I'll do that someday. This is my first year raising them, and I released 11. So
Oh wow!
yeah, I'll do
Good
more
for you.
here. I really enjoy.
Yes, you did almost as much as we did. Like it was a slow year, but yeah, we'll compare notes for sure. That's
great.
Exciting.
Yeah,
And
I love that you're doing that.
another thing that we like to do too is we like to release them in memory of people that have passed. So if
Yeah.
somebody
Oh,
calls
yes.
us and say, can you release a monarch in memory of my mom? We'll say, sure, give me her name. And I'll put the name right beside the tag number in case it ever makes it to Mexico.
On our tally sheet.
On our tally
Okay,
sheet, not the
yes.
ones that I send out. 'Cause I'll make a photocopy of it.
We we do it online now, right? So we enter it online, send our tally sheet via email now, and then on our sheet we can put in memory of Nicole,
Yeah.
and we put it in brackets just in case somebody ever writes us, and we can say, oh my gosh, your monarch made it. That was your mom, and that would be so fun to do for somebody one day.
Yeah, out of the ones we released this year, I think we released about 6 or 7 of them in memory of people.
Yeah, we did a lot.
Amazing.
nice.
Yeah, so you can do that little special touch. Yeah,
Cool.
that's awesome. Yeah, great question. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that you're doing this.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
In Sarnia.
In Sarnia.
And
You're going to see them way before we get them.
Yeah, and I raised black swallowtail the last 3 years.
So do you have any now in a cocoon?
No, I took a break this year because of how busy work is. Lauren knows that, the amount of overtime. So I didn't plant any host plants for the swallowtailed, but I happened 2 summers ago plant a little bit of swamp milkweed. And some of it grew back this year, and I was out weeding my garden and a monarch flew down and right in front of me laid eggs.
See?
And
When
I
they're
went,
ready to
well,
lay-
I guess I'm doing monarch caterpillars this year instead.
I love it.
what we
That
have
is
now?
so great. You know what? This is the first year we're doing swallowtail.
Yes.
We actually, our friends found it on dill.
No parsley.
Or parsley, on the parsley plant. And he brought it to us thinking they were monarch caterpillars. And I said, no, that's not a monarch. And then they went into their cocoon, which looks like a dry leaf, right?
Different, very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we just got them. Now that we're talking, they're in our little plastic cage. You're like, do we do anything different?
Yeah, you're going to put them into your fridge. You'll leave them outside. They need to be outside.
So I can put them in the shed?
They need to be outside so that they feel the cold nights.
Oh,
And then if they have not eclosed by November-ish or by the first frost, then I put them into a Tupperware container and I put them into my crisper because the fridge will be dark and it will be a constant cold all winter, whereas our winters nowadays, we have these warm spells. And if they get too warm, especially here in Sarnia, we don't get the snow that you guys get up in Cambridge. So a warm snap can trigger them to become butterflies in the middle of winter. So I prefer to keep my swallowtail chrysalis in the fridge, in the crisper. I'll just open up the Tupperware container once a week at least. And then come about May, when there's some nectar flowers, I'll start to spritz them once a week. And then normally middle of May, if not sooner, depending on flowers and nectar availability, I'll bring them outside, put them back into I use mesh mesh enclosures.
Yeah.
And I put them outside again so that and then they'll eclose normally in about 2 weeks or 2 years. They can actually hold on in pupa stage for 2 years, up to 2 years.
Wow.
What?
Why I love monarchs. Monarchs all about business, man. And they
go boom, 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 we're gone.
And they're a month and they're gone, where a swallowtail. Yeah, you're gonna be babysitting for 2 years, potentially. Most of them will come out. Yeah.
So can we actually touch them at this stage?
Yes, if they're hardened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
They're hard.
So I would take them and I would put in the bottom of a Tupperware container some paper towel, and then I would put those down there. And then put them in your crisper, and in May, when you bring them out, you just need to have them in something that they can climb up on. So the plastic container won't work.
No, I got some nets that I use for my monarchs. I could use one of.
Yep, you can use that. So May is when you bring them out.
Dry paper towel in the Tupperware?
Sorry, you both spoke at the same time.
Go ahead, Lauren.
I was just gonna say dry paper towel in the Tupperware for the crisper.
Yes, just so the bottom's soft, but it's just a small Tupperware container, paper towel. You can take those chrysalis, put them right in the bottom, put them in your crisper, and in May bring them out and put them at the bottom of your mesh enclosure so that they can climb up the side when they close.
When am I spritzing them?
I normally start in April. I'll start to spritz them. Sorry, that's bare. Spritz them once a week.
Like when they're like this?
Yep. Yeah, they still need some moisture, but you're basically trying to trigger them in the spring that normally they would get rain. So in April, I'll spritz them once a week, still in the crisper. And then at the beginning of May, I bring them out, and then I spritz them maybe every 2-3 days, depending on how much humidity is out in the air. But we can talk about it later if you want. But if they're brown and you know, they look healthy from what I can see, and so into the crisper they'll go.
Oh, cool!
Wow, that is really cool. And we're only doing it because our friends thought they were monarch, and I thought we got to do something with them now.
Yeah.
So but I hope they come out before 2 years. I might end up throwing them out.
Yeah. So right now they need to get outside, because if you keep them indoors, they're not getting the right cues, and they might still come out as butterflies this year.
Oh.
You know what? You're right. They're probably in there now 3 weeks like that, because we didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I would put them outside in a shed somewhere protected from critters, so that they get the nighttime darkness and also the temperature drop.
Okay, and then because they could probably freeze. Our winters are brutal. Like,
well, they're meant to freeze. They go into a diapause. I like a hibernation, and they are meant, in the wild, they freeze. That's what they do.
How about we just put paper towel in this? There's air in here, and leave them in the shed in our paper towel, and then I won't even have to worry about them. And I'll put a note on my calendar: check swallowtail.
Yeah, so if we have a very warm spell in the winter, like really crazy warmth, if we do though, take them and put them into your fridge during that period of time, and then back in.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Oh my gosh, we were totally meant to meet tonight. I am so excited. Not that I want to do this every year, but we're stuck with these two babies.
And I hope they
Yeah,
don't last for 2 years. I hope they come out next year.
Now, hopefully, yeah. I've never had any last that long. They all came out.
yeah. Oh my gosh. See, this is so excellent that we can exchange this information. That was fun to know. Thank you.
You're
And I'm
welcome.
glad you brought them up because now we know what to do with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anybody out there listening,
Yeah.
monarchs are a lot less work. Because they fly the coop. They come out as butterflies
Yeah.
when they're supposed to, and then they go away.
Yeah. That's right.
Not like these guys. These guys are like teenagers that don't want to leave the house.
That's right.
I
And they
love
sit
that.
around all winter and do nothing.
I know.
Oh, that was fun.
Awesome. Well,
Thank
thank
you for
you,
that.
everyone. This was a fun evening, and I'm
It
excited
was.
excited to see
was-
what's next. If anyone
Yeah.
raises monarchs or catches sees them about, feel free to just post them in this group. It can be just kind of one of the themes. It is conscious clean living. So we are conscious about the monarchs and helping their populations thrive again. So
Yes. No pesticides.
no,
Thanks,
Wonderful.
Lauren.
Okay.
no
Yes,
problem.
thank
Thanks, Lauren.
Have a wonderful
you.
evening. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Night.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.